tough campaign, regardless of what pundits might say about the Democrats and their fractured position right now. There's a lot that can happen between now and November 2nd. There's a lot to happen in the 7 weeks, or a little less now than 7 weeks, between now and August 3rd, the primary election. So I'd appreciate your support. I'd appreciate your activity for me. I'd appreciate your prayers, your contributions, and I'll take both. And I need both. Mark Schauer has raised, as of now, probably over $2 million. He's not spending on a primary campaign because he doesn't have one. We're going to have to spend significant money in our primary to make sure that we're there for the November election. But I've always said it takes more to hide a bad record, like Mark Schauer's, than it is to run on a good record. And so that's where we're coming from at this point. I think I've given you enough of an introduction, and please feel free to get more coffee or anything up there. We appreciate what they've done for us, and thank you. On cue. 36 years she's been with me as of last week. She constantly says, I didn't sign on for this. But she's fully engaged. And some of you know her, know that I gain votes with Sue. And people say, well, we'll put up with you as long as that means we'll see more of Sue. I don't kid you. Questions? Comments? Yes,
How do you feel about term limits?
I'm not a fan of term limits.
Because?
When I went to the state legislature, I was one of 10 members right in my freshman year that were pushing for a part-time legislature. And I'm still pushing for a part-time legislature. And I think even Congress would be better as a part-time Congress if I had the choice between the legislature and Congress, because Congress should be limited by the states. And the whole idea of our framers was that Congress gained its power from the states. And the states don't have rights, they have powers. And if anyone should be limited in the amount of scope, responsibility, and time spent on task, it should be Congress. But I think the same thing should be true at the state level. Michigan is one of only 10 states in the union that has a full-time legislature. Texas and other states that are doing fine economically. Texas is one of those states that meets every other year, whether they need it or not. And seem to be doing as well as we are. So no, term limits, I say that ought to take place at the ballot box. There ought to be responsibility, because it's two-way. We can jump all over elected officials, and there's reason to do that. But never neglect to remember that we, the citizens, elected those people. Teddy Kennedy didn't get elected for all those years without somebody electing him. Mark Schauer didn't get elected this time without this district electing him. And I think where the voter sometimes is very wise, sometimes they make mistakes. And I think that's where the term limits ought to happen, rather than arbitrarily. Yes, sir. We'll go here, and then we'll jump over here, and then I saw a hand back over this one.
What can you do to bring some credibility back to our Congress?
Well, I can act with integrity. I can do what I say I will do. That's why the brain on my hip is there for you to point out. I've had a reputation of doing what I say and saying what I do. And that's why I'm targeted generally in my races. As a freshman congressman, your first re-elect is your toughest re-elect. But you're not always targeted. And I had the dubious distinction of having the #1 target on my back in the last election. Michelle Bachmann has it this time. Michelle and Marcus Bachmann were our closest friends in Washington. Some of you know Michelle as a firebrand of a conservative. Articulate, classy, tough lady that stands on principle. She's #1 target this time around. And I'll let her have it. I'll be sure. She can handle it as a second termer as well. But I think act with integrity, go back there and fight for the people, and stand on the Constitution. And I'll tell you point blank, if you ask me to do something that violates the Constitution, no matter if the majority of this district says it, if I understand it's a violation of the Constitution, I'm going to have to respectfully say to you, I appreciate your position, I wish I could support you, but because it says in, and you force me to quote, I can't do that.